Here, the areas of the two figures below are equal. So, and then we want to figure out what the area of the rectangle is. So the areas are equal. We have to know the formula to find the area of a rectangle and a triangle. Area of a rectangle is going to be length times width, or base times height. So it's going to be x times 5x plus 1. That would represent the area of the rectangle. Okay, this would be the height of the rectangle x. This would be the length. Now the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we take half of the base. Base is x plus 1, and the height is 8x. And the reason we do half base times height, just so you know, is a triangle is basically half of a rectangle. Okay, so and how would you find the area of the rectangle? You would do base times height, but it's half, and that's why we have to have the half in there. So let's set that up, and that's going to equal, that will represent the area. So that's going to be 1/2. Base of the triangle is x plus 1, and the height is 8x. So this represents the area of the triangle. And then here we have the area of the rectangle. And they have to equal each other. So if we solve for x in this case, then we can plug it back in to actually figure out what the area of the rectangle is. So let's go ahead and solve for x. Let's distribute here. That'd be 5x squared. X times 1 is 1x, and that equals, the easiest way to multiply everything on the right side together is to first take half of 8x. Now, it doesn't, you could take half of the x plus 1, but then you got to deal with the fraction. So let's do half of 8x, which is 4x, and then go ahead and multiply that with the x plus 1. So we have 5x squared plus x equals 4x squared plus 4x. We are taking 4x times x, which is 4x squared, and 4x times 1, which is just the 4x. All right, so now we're solving this quadratic equation. We have to get the x's, basically everything to the same side. So I'm going to move everything over here because I want my x squared term to be positive. So we're going to subtract 4x squared. Subtract 4x squared. We get 1x squared plus x equals 4x. Now we're going to subtract 4x. So minus the 4x, minus the 4x. We get x squared. What is 1x minus 4x right here? That would be, whoops, that'd be negative 3x, and that equals 0. So here we have x squared minus 3x equals 0. And if we're going to factor that, well, we look for a greatest common factor. What can I divide out of both terms? I believe I can pull out an x. And then we're left with x minus 3 equals 0. And now you take each of these pieces, the x and the x minus 3, and set it equal to 0. Well, if x equals 0, okay, there it is, done, x equals 0. And the other one is x minus 3 equals 0, and you solve that, so x is going to equal positive 3. So x could equal 0 or x could equal positive 3. But x cannot equal 0 because if you plug in 0 right here, that wouldn't have any dimension to it. So x has to equal positive 3. So that means this would be 3. And then if x is 3 here, if x is 3 right here, 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so 15 plus 1 is 16. And so if you want to find the area of the rectangle, 16 times 3 is 48. Now we're going to double check by plugging it back in up here. Okay, so plug in 3. 8 times 3 is 24. This would be 24. Plug in 3 here, and you get 3 plus 1 is 4. So if you do half, base is 4, height is 24. Half of 4 is 2. 2 times 24 is 48. So the area would be 48 for both of those. So the answer is going to be B. Now, is there an easier way to do this? Possibly by using your answers to do it. If you figured out that the area of this here was, we had 5x squared plus x. And then you set that equal to, different numbers like 38. You might be able to solve for it, but really in this case, the easiest way to do it is set them equal, solve it by getting everything on the same side and factor, and then, of course, plugging it back in for x.